Good morning, everyone. It is nice to see all of you on our Gotan-e Shinran's birthday service, and happy Children's Day to all of the children and all of the ones with children in their heart. I took off my name tag, sorry, it was choking me. I'm Naomi, and I'll be your MC for today. We will begin with the ringing of the temple bell, or Kansho, that signifies the beginning of a temple service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition. It is the calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, guests of the Windward Buddhist temple. Please sit quietly in your seat. Children, offering of flowers and light, please. Please rise for the meditation, followed by the chanting of the Vandana Ti-Sarana by the congregation in Pali and English in the red Jodo Shinshu Service book on page 7. Please be seated. Sambujo now by Reverend Bert on page 9 in the red Jodo Shinshu Service book.
The presence of Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and all the Buddhas of the 10 directions to this Gotan-e Service. Namo Amida Butsu. We are gathered here at the Windward Buddhist Temple to celebrate the birthday of our founder, Shinran Shonin, who was born on May 21st, 1173 in the village of Hino near Kyoto. At the age of 9, he entered the priesthood at Mount Hiei and studied there until the age of 29. Upon leaving Mount Hiei in search of the Bodhi, he encountered the Nembutsu teaching of Honen Shonin in Kyoto. Thereafter, Shinran Shonin shared the Nembutsu teachings of the primal vow of Amida Buddha to all people. It is due to the birth of the Shonin that we are able to receive the teaching that enables us to transcend the realm of birth and death. As fellow friends and followers in the Buddha Dharma, we vow to walk the great way of indebtedness and gratitude. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Namo.
Today's sutra is Shoshinge in the red Jodo Shinshu Service book from pages 11 through 18, verses 1 to 11, and then put your finger on page 58 at the bottom of the page.
고 주단난지 무쇼고 조니치각도 쇼진세 이사이 근종 느거쇼 옹남묘고 쇼조고 시신신교간님 조도각도쇼다이네함 이시메츠도간조유 뇨라이쇼 이코슈세 여이세츠미다 홍강가이 도적거꾸지 근조가이 오시뇨라이 뇨지츠돔 노츠이치멘 기아이시 의담본노 덕근해한 본조약흑혹사이대뉴 뇨슈신유가이치미 색슈신고조쇼고 비노수이함음묘한 돈나이신소 시연무 조수신직수 신징택 인연이고 분무 음무시계묘무한 야쿠신경교다이교기 소쿠오 조zetsu도쿠쇼 이사이데 마크범브닝 모신요라이 그세간 우츠동고다이 쇼게샤 레닌며 분다리 캐리다 우츠홍강 렘붓 자갱교만 나쿠슈조 신교주지진니난 난주시나무가시
Please rise for the Gatha on this morn in the Praises of the Buddha book on page 119. Please be seated. For Dharma Talk this morning, our speaker for our Gotan-e Shinran's birthday service is Reverend Blayne Higa. Sensei, will you please introduce this wonderful man from the Big Island?
Good morning. Yes, we're very lucky to have Reverend Blayne Higa from Kona on the Big Island. You know, he has such an illustrious history and background. He's very involved in the community, and he is a graduate of Waikea High School on the Big Island. He has accomplished so much. I will review a little bit of it. He holds a Master of Divinity from the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley, California, with a focus on Shin Buddhist ministry and chaplaincy. He's been a contributor to Tricycle Magazine, Lion's Roar, Buddha Dharma, and Midweek, and is a frequent speaker and seminar leader at Buddhist communities in Hawaii. He became involved in the temple. He received back in 2012, he received his Tokudo ordination and also received a certification as Kyoshi, which means that he is a full-fledged minister. He's also the chair of the Committee on Social Concerns and Ministerial Training Committee for the Hongwanji, Hawaii. You know, he has a website, so if you're interested in knowing more about him, you can go to www.blaynehiga.com, and I'm sure you'll find out a lot more about him. So with that, I'd like to introduce and have you listen to Reverend Blayne.
Thank you, Barbara Sensei. Good morning, everybody, and aloha. So happy Gotan-e and happy Children's Day to all the children out there. Thank you very much to Reverend Barbara and to Reverend Bert, my good friend, Dharma friends, for inviting me to share with you today. So please join me in Kansho for an opening reflection. The words of Shinran Shonin from the Jodo Shinshu, the true teaching, practice, and realization. How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, and my thoughts and feelings flowing within the Dharma ocean, which is beyond comprehension. I am deeply aware of the Tathagata's immense compassion, and I sincerely revere the benevolent care behind the Master's teaching activity. My joy grows even fuller, my gratitude and indebtedness even more compelling. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. So Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu or Shin Buddhism, as it's known in the West, was a revolutionary thinker who shared with us a path of universal liberation and spiritual freedom. Born on May 21st, 1173, he is revered as a great religious teacher. But I also appreciate him as a remarkable human being who lived a life of critical self-reflection and spiritual honesty, who called himself Gutoku, or foolish, stubble-haired one. I have always marveled at his humility, his self-awareness, and how profoundly relatable Shinran truly is. Shinran offers a lament in one of his writings. He says, "The Shinjin of the wise is such that they are inwardly wise and outwardly foolish. The heart of Gutoku is such that I am inwardly foolish and outwardly wise." Here we can see his spiritual maturity, which is a lesson for us to strive to live with a similar self-awareness. At the heart of the Nembutsu path is an acceptance of our full humanness as imperfect human beings, and the cultivation of profound gratitude for the dynamic activity of wisdom and compassion, which embraces and never forsakes. It was this realization of his own limitations as a human being and how he was incapable of achieving enlightenment through his own self-effort. Shinran awakened to the inconceivable working of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, symbolized by me, the Buddha. It is this dual realization that leads to a profound spiritual transformation, which enables us to truly live with an entrusting heart and mind of Shinjin. Shinran teaches that the heart of reality, making itself known to us through the name Namo Amida Butsu, is the sound of the universe calling us home to ourselves, encouraging us to wake up to our lives. It reminds us how we are always living together in oneness with that which is true and real. Shinran teaches us how to truly live in this world of samsara. Today, in honor of Shinran and the life of awakening he shared, I would like to reflect on the simple yet profound words of the Myokonin. So the Myokonin, as we know, are these really devout Shin Buddhist followers, these spiritual seekers who were not academics, they were not teachers, they were not the scholars, but they understood and got the teachings here, right? They understood it from a visceral heart level. And so we revere these Myokunin as exemplars of the Shin path, which allows us to journey and to see life from their perspective, just a little bit. And the Myokunin, Saichi Asahara, wrote the following verse. He says, "Isn't it nice? The world is filled with Buddhas, and I too live among them. Namo Amida Butsu." Isn't it nice? The world is filled with Buddhas, and I too live among them. Namo Amida Butsu. What a remarkable way of seeing the world as being filled with nothing but Buddhas. However, we know from experience that this doesn't necessarily mean that there are golden Buddhas everywhere, but rather it is an attunement of our heart to see the sacred in everything, right? Of how we can encounter the world of the Buddhas, the Pure Land, in this present moment. Seeing Buddhas everywhere is a profound recognition of how we are given life and are enabled to live through countless causes and conditions. The sun, the moon, the earth, the insects, the trees, the grass, our family, our friends, our experiences. All these things are beyond the power of human beings, which sustain our lives. These things can be considered Buddha. Dr. Hideo Yonezawa believes in gratitude, we should put our hands together and humbly gassho to all things. When we are reverent to all things become Buddha. It is a world of nothing but Buddhas. We are living in such a world. Awakening to the working of the Pure Land is Namu Amida Butsu. The oneness of myself with that power which is beyond myself. When we attune the ears of our hearts towards Amida's calling voice, everything in life expresses Namu Amida Butsu, even our challenges and our failures. Who hasn't failed in life at some point or another? However, our ego, right, our ego self dominates our lives and controls whether or not we see the Pure Land around us. Our ego continuously turns the Pure Land into a defiled realm of suffering through the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance, which we see so many examples of in our world today. Yet, the Buddhas in our lives are constantly trying to wake us up to the world of awakening that is always present, teaching us to become true and real human beings. What is remarkable about the Pure Land path that Shinran shared is that the practice of Nembutsu is grounded in the very midst of our everyday lives. After leaving Mount Hiei, where he trained as a monk for 20 years, he left the mountain. He married, raised a family, and lived as an ordinary life of a householder, while continuing to say the Nembutsu as his exclusive practice. Because of this, Shinran considered himself neither monk nor lay, living in a spiritually liminal or in-between space that affirmed both the sacred and the profane within himself. Professor Takamoto Shigaraki describes his spiritual journey as walking the path of the Nembutsu of everyday life, in which we think on the Buddha and say the Nembutsu in whatever condition, whether laughing or crying, angry or happy that we may find ourselves in. Through this Nembutsu, practiced every day of our lives, a path opens up before us, and on the path, we are able to realize the experience of true awakening and attain Buddhahood. This is the path that Shinran experienced and has revealed to us. So in his book, Awaken to Your True Self, A Shin Buddhist Way of Life, Dr. Yonezawa says, in becoming one with the power beyond the self, we receive the strength to live through anything. This is called awakening to Namu Amida Butsu, awakening to one's true self, or meeting one's true self. The Buddha Dharma is the path that teaches this awakening. When we meet the Buddha Dharma, for the first time there arises within us the aspiration to live authentically, to live as true and real human beings. Not perfect, but true and real human beings that live and struggle, that make mistakes and learn and grow and share in life's journey with each other. That's the remarkable beauty of the Dharma and this path that we are walking on. That we don't have to be perfect, because we are far from perfect, but what we have to do is to show up, to try to live compassionately with wisdom for our sake and the sake of others. The Nembutsu, taught by Shinran Shonin, is a path of becoming a true and real human being who live with sincerity, authenticity, and a deep gratitude for all that life has to teach us. Right? Isn't it true that, well, we do learn a lot from our successes, right? But we learn the most from our failures, right? That when we are pushed to the edge of our comfort, when we are made to see ourselves, right, as just ordinary, right, imperfect beings, that we learn the most about our lives, about the self, and about others. What a gift to see our failures as an opportunity for awakening. Dr. Yonezawa shares a moving essay by a junior high school student in Japan, which illustrates how our ego often prevents us from seeing the Buddhas all around us. And so in his book, he has this chapter called Failing is to Become Buddha. And so he says, I was very moved by an essay written by a junior high school student entitled Becoming a Man, which was quoted in an article in a magazine in Japan. And so the essay goes like this. In March of this year, upon the urging of my homeroom teacher, another classmate and I took the entrance exam of a certain high school. This school is private and one of the most famous schools in Japan with only the most outstanding students. Our homeroom teacher urged us to try because he felt certain that both of us would pass. He felt that we were exceptional students. My parents were very happy for me. Not as to disappoint them, I studied intensively for the test. However, upon taking the test, my friend passed, but I failed. To me, it felt like falling from the highest mountain peak to the depths of hell. In our practice tests, I had always scored the highest in the school, and my friend had scored lower. But despite that, I failed, and he passed. I felt miserable, and I didn't want to see anyone. My parents tried to cheer me up by bringing me my favorite foods and by consoling me with words, but it only made me feel worse. How many of us have experienced this at one time in our life or another? Yeah. And as I lay down on my bed, burning with anger and wanting to smash and destroy anything, my mother entered my room. Your friend has come to see you, she said. Mom, I don't want to see anyone now. There is one person in this world that I most want to avoid. There is one person that I can't stand to see. Don't you know who that is? Tell him to go home, I exclaimed. But he's gone out of his way to come to see you. I can't say that to him. The two of you are friends. Is your bond of friendship that weak? Just on this alone, you let yourselves become enemies? I can't tell him to leave. If you feel that way about him, just ignore him, and maybe he'll leave. My mother scolded as she left the room. Although I had never been defeated in other tests, now he was going to come and gloat over me in my misery. Can there be anything as humiliating as this? I felt I was going crazy. I began to hear his footsteps coming up the stairs. I can't let him see how I've been lying in bed in misery. I quickly got up and thought I'd show him that I am tough, and I stare him straight in the eye. And the door opened. In came my friend, wearing the same worn-out clothes that he had owned for 3 years of junior high school. His face grimaced, and he was in tears. I'm sorry that I was the only one to pass, he uttered. That was all he said, as he covered his face with his hands and then went back down the stairs. Suddenly, I felt horribly ashamed. I was the one who was conceited. I was the one who looked down on my friend, thinking that I couldn't fail the test. I thought, what if I were the only one that had passed? Would I have been able to console my friend, to say to him, I'm sorry that I was the only one to pass? No doubt I would have rubbed it in and said, see, I told you so. When I realized that I was the one who had been conceited, I also realized that I deserved to fail. I realized that my friend was a different human being from me. How horrible it would have been if I had passed. I would have turned into a totally conceited human being. I deserved to fail. It was good that I failed. It was as if the heavens made me fail in order to make me become a human being. Although this was a most painful experience, I began to feel that with this experience, I could start over again. Until now, I had only thought that happiness meant that things went your way. But because of the lesson that I learned from my friends, sometimes when things don't go your way, that is more of an important lesson for human beings. In the olden days, they used to say that a boy became a man at the age of 15. Thanks to failing that entrance exam, I felt that I too had become a man. And so Dr. Yonezawa goes on to talk about his reflection on this essay. And he says, at a conference of high school principals, tears came to my eyes as I read this essay and talked about how important it was that even if one failed a test and fell down, we should rise again with something gained from that experience, although the young man may not necessarily think so. For those who have met the Buddha Dharma, this can be seen as a religious experience. I think that Isshin, or religious transformation, a turning of mind, of heart and mind, is of this nature. It would be called a religious experience if the young man, in listening to the Buddha Dharma, became aware that awakening to his true self occurred when his ego self was crushed. For the first time, he had the heart of a real human being. It was a remarkable transformation. All of us, with no exception, fail at something during the course of life. However, if we just resign ourselves to failure and allow it to end there, then we will not be enlightened by it. But if we say, it was good that I failed, we begin to respect even our failures. And our failing is to become Buddha. In this case, it becomes a religious experience when we think, because of that failure, I am what I am today. Our failures are no longer failures, right? So we always talk about glass as being half empty, right, or half full, right? But it's still just a glass. But it's our perspective, our perception of that glass that changes, whether that glass is half empty or half full, right? The Buddha taught, with our minds we create the world, right? The mind is the most powerful thing. To be able to perceive, be able to see, to be able to understand life, and to learn the lessons that life is offering us and teaching us. You know, for the young man who failed the entrance exam, right, the experience will allow him to understand the sadness of others who have failed. He can no longer laugh at those who have less ability. Now he is able to grasp the hand of those who have failed and who are less capable. They are the same as he is, and his world is broadened. The world that is broadened, that is brighter, that he is at one with, is what we call the Pure Land. The world in which failure means to become Buddha is the Pure Land. Therefore, we need not fear failure. We need not fear the arising of our blind passions. We can be at peace in the world of delusion. Right, so spiritual awakening, right, are becoming more true and real human beings, right, is an opportunity to cultivate empathy. Right, I read an article maybe a couple years ago that was talking about how America has an empathy deficit. Right? And maybe if we can truly see ourselves in the lives of another person, of another human being, we can cultivate empathy, cultivate compassion, cultivate an awareness of how truly connected we all are. And maybe that can help to resolve some of the deep-seated divisions in our communities, in our country, in our world today. So, can we be like Saichi, Asahara, and see Buddhas everywhere? Maybe striving to perceive the Pure Land in each unrepeatable moment is our lifelong practice on the Nembutsu path. So thank you again for this time together, celebrating the life and teaching of Shinran Shonin. What a truly remarkable way of living with sincerity, with wonder, with joy. Shinran's path of profound gratitude reveals to us a world of awareness in which we realize that we are embraced and supported by infinite light and life itself. How grateful we are to Shinran for sharing the life-giving and life-transforming teaching of Nembutsu with the world. So in closing, please join me in Gassho for a reflection. Isn't it nice? The world is filled with Buddhas, and I too live among them. Namo Amida Butsu. In trusting in the dynamic working of a power beyond the self, we call Amida's name with profound gratitude, abiding joy, and a heart-centered awareness for the miracle of living. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namman Da Butsu. Namman Da Butsu. Namman Da Butsu. Mahalo, everybody.
Sensei, thank you for your words of wisdom, of daily living, put so easily to understand. Thank you very much for that. Please rise for the Gatha, listen to his voice in the praises of the Buddha book on page 92, and then continue to stand for the Nembutsu in the red Jodo Shinshu Service book on page 135.
person who feels that his attainment of birth is not settled should, to begin with, say the Nembutsu in aspiration for birth. The person who feels that his attainment of birth is definitely settled should, thinking of the Buddha's benevolence, devote oneself to the Nembutsu. In order to respond with gratitude for that benevolence, we should hope for peace in the world and spread of the Buddha Dharma. Namo Amidam. Namo Amidam.
Please be seated. Good morning, Dennis.
Yes, yes. I should have caught that, but I didn't.
Good morning, everyone. Listening to Reverend Blayne's message, I thought he was talking about me and all the failures I had. I'm the results of all the bruises and splinters, but that was a very nice message. Thank you. And thank you also for Reverend Bert and Reverend Barbara for leading the service, Naomi for being our MC, Alan for being our greeter, Prudence for ringing the Kansho, Lisa for playing the piano, and of course Ryan, who's recording this service. We have some guests. First we have David Johnson. Welcome, David. We have Julia's brother, Matthew, and also Kate. Welcome. So we'll get to see the rest of the family too, right? Last week, Tuesday, several of us gathered here at the temple. We prepared some lunches, 50 lunches of chili, hot dog, rice, corn, fruits, different things. And this is an effort to help feed the homeless. So we met at the Daybreak Church next to the YMCA up on Pali Highway. And we distributed 50 bentos or plate lunch, but also 50 bags of snacks that we had prepared last Sunday with some of your help. So it was a good effort. It was a good feeling moment that we were able to help. Thank you for those who volunteered. Next Sunday will be our Mother's Day family service. So all mothers, please come. It will also be our bingo day, so more so, come and have fun. On Saturday, May 18, we'll be doing trash pickup along Kuale Road, right out here, in observance of Earth Day, which was on April 22nd. Our sign-up sheet for volunteers is on the table in the back. On Monday, June 10, some of us will be visiting the Waimanalo Japanese Cemetery to place flowers on the grave sites and have a memorial service. The cemetery is on military property, so we needed to get permission to get there. More information about the visit will be announced later, and we will have a sign-up sheet. Now I call on Cynthia for some announcements.
Good morning. So we will once again be having our rummage sale along with our country market at the upcoming Bon Dance in July. So we would truly appreciate any items that you would be willing to donate, gently used or even unused new items, for us to sell at the rummage sale section. A flyer is available behind the check-in desk listing suggested items, but not limited to just those items, along with the drop-off dates. Thank you in advance for your support of our fundraising effort, and we certainly appreciate your kokua. Now my second announcement. Okay, please stand and come to the front if you have a birthday in May. Please don't be shy, please come up. Oh, wow, a lot of people. Very good. Some people need help, yeah, Everly. All right, ooh, look at this. Okay, wait a minute now. Neil is gonna come around and he'll give you a lei before we take a photo shoot. Okay, one more lei. Oops. Okay, we're going to get ready to sing Happy Birthday as soon as we have a photo shoot. Okay, photo shoot. Cheese. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bobby. Happy birthday to you. Woo. Thank you. Happy birthday.
I thought we had a lot of birthdays in February. Boy, it gives us a hard rub. Okay, this is the first Sunday, and of course, it's Intergenerational Activity Day. I call on Prudence to tell us what we were doing for our activity.
Good morning. Being that it's we're very earth conscious, we saved the earth, so this is all recycled. Recycled can, recycled egg cartons. We made flowers. So this is for Mother's Day, if you have a mother or whoever you want to give to. So we'll make these in the back, okay? So don't try to do this, it was horrible starting. It's so hard to cut these egg cartons. Yeah, it's really hard. It's amazing I didn't get a... So the children would put these together, okay? Adults too. They said it's also the Young at Heart, Children's Day, okay?
Okay. I'd like to announce that we have new members. Christopher, Amelisa, and Philomena. Thank you for joining our temple. Are there any other announcements? If not, it's time for refreshments. So we could do the words of thanksgiving. It can either be found on the Red Service book, page 126, or on the screen up front. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you.